Okay, John Sharp, thank you for joining us again and being the first of our 10-minute takeaways. Your extremely popular seminars last week on COVID-19 versus the insurer's response. We thought we'd just get the most important takeaways, the most important points people need to remember from those. So I've got some questions, if you wouldn't mind answering, please.
No problem at all, Julie. Fire away.
So can you just explain again, clarify why there is no cover for COVID-19?
Yes, I can. Shortly in between 2003 and 2005, there was a thing called SARS, and everyone thought this would turn into a pandemic. Unfortunately, it awoke insurers, and they looked at their policy wordings in terms of covering diseases. So they put a notifiable diseases clause in there. Now, some policies say notifiable diseases are, and then they list them. And on some policies, you can add diseases. But of course, you couldn't have added COVID-19 because it didn't exist. Insurers would have said, well, what's that, John? We're not giving a price for that. We don't know it exists. Secondly, you just get some policies that say notifiable diseases. Well, again, insurers are saying, well, yeah, but we didn't know COVID-19 existed. We wouldn't have offered terms. And by the way, we didn't charge you any premium for it. So no, we're not going to cover COVID-19. And that appears to be their stance across the board at the moment on all policies, marine policies, aviation policies, the lot. If it was to do with COVID-19, they are saying there is no coverage.
Ouch. Okay, but COVID-19 aside, insurance policies remain in full effect for normal claims?
Absolutely, full effect for normal claims. So, if there is an accident in your workplace, claim on your insurance in the normal way. If you have a professional indemnity claim made against you, claim on your insurance policy in the normal way. All the other terms continue as normal. The policy is still valid, you've paid your premium, insurers will respond to any claims as long as they are not related to COVID-19.
Right, so you'd advise that keeping in touch with your broker currently is very important.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, brokers do vary in ability, I think that's fair to say, but certainly if you've got London brokers such as Clear, who we use, Gallagher's and others, then they have their fingers on the pulse at the moment. They're listening to the market reaction. They are next door to Lloyd's, which is, you know, the centre of the London insurance market. They will know. So it's important to keep in touch with them and to be telling them what difficulties you're currently encountering as a result of COVID-19.
Okay, so are you saying should notifications of potential claims arising from COVID still be made?
Well, it's slightly controversial, but my view is yes. So if you've had to abandon your offices because the government's told you to, or indeed because you may even have had someone who was infected by COVID-19 on your premises and you've had to close them, yes, you should be notifying insurers of a potential claim. Same with business interruption claims. You may want to make a business interruption claim. Notify insurers that you might be. The point is this, that most insurance policies have a notification period for claims. Sometimes it's 30 days, sometimes it's less. And that's not been changed by the Insurance Act of 2015. So what you don't want to do, this is going to be a hard enough situation to recover money from insurers anyway. What you don't want them saying to you, oh, by the way, late notification, we're not paying.
Okay, so keeping records of potential losses and additional costs should be kept.
Absolutely. You will still have to justify your losses to insurers in the normal way as you would with any claim. So they will appoint loss adjusters who will say, well, where'd you get that figure from? Where'd you get this figure from? You need to have documentation to support your claim. And just one point, normally in business interruption policies, there is cover for expenditure that you have had to expend in order to minimize your losses. It's an old term called sue and labour. But Julie, I won't bother you with that because it's a, Tuesday afternoon and we're all, tired. So I won't bother you with that, but keep a note of the additional expenditure. So if you've had to buy somebody a second screen, etc., keep a note of that because it may be recoverable.
Okay, what about mitigating your losses, John? I assume normal rules apply?
Yes, Julie, you're absolutely right. The normal rules will apply. So if you've had to close your office, you need to keep a record of how much it has cost you to relocate your staff. Now, most staff are working from home. Again, it goes back to the point I made earlier. What additional IT expenditure have you had? Keep a note of that. Obviously, you need to continue to run your business as cost effectively as possible. This is particularly important with regard to potential business interruption claims. You can't just go, all right, we're shutting up shop, that's it, bye-bye. You can't do it. The classic example of mitigating your loss is if your warehouse is flooded, insurers expect you to pick the items up off the floor, get them out of the water, okay? Because they may still be irreparably damaged, but there may be some that can be saved or sold at a lesser amount. They expect you to mitigate your losses.
Okay. Do you think the government will apply pressure on insurance companies to respond to COVID-19?
Well, I would like to think that they would, in the same way as Boris was not particularly happy with the banks when he made interest rate cuts and they didn't pass them on immediately. He tried to help by making it a notifiable disease. He certainly did. It was slightly backfired on him. But he is aware of the insurance position, I'm sure. And the insurance market's attitude at the moment of just, well, if it's COVID-19, we're not covering anything. There is one exception to that. There is one underwriter that's changed its position, a well-known underwriter who's saying, if you've been told to evacuate your office, we will pay a maximum sum of 100,000 over 3 months. Hopefully others will move their position as well. But I'd like to think that the government would take a view that really this isn't good enough and there should be some form of coverage in place. However, we will have to wait and see.
So you think there'll be court challenges to the current or insurers' current stance?
Again, Julie, I have no doubt. At the moment, the courts are more or less closed, apart from urgent business such as injunctions, etc. But I'm sure that there will be some companies who certainly have significant business interruption claims who will be taking action against insurers to say, really, come on, and test it through the courts. We might be helped by that because of the new Insurance Act of 2015, which replaced the Marine Insurance Act of 1906. And that Insurance Act has made it slightly harder for insurers to avoid policies. So there may be challenges to it. And I suspect what they will do is take a test case and it will go to the House of Lords for a decision and a ruling on it. But we're still, if things go back to normal in 4 months, I can't see that getting before the House of Lords much before another 5 months if it's an expedited matter. So it's a way, I'm afraid.
Okay. What about the FCA and the Financial Ombudsman?
Well, this is another interesting route. I was reading actually a paper prepared by another firm on this, but it occurred to me as well. The Financial Ombudsman is there, and one of the duties that an insurance company has is to treat its customers fairly. Now, even with the insistence by the FCA that policy wording should be clear, they're still not the most easiest document to understand. And certainly there might be an argument to say, well, we assumed we were covered for this. So the two aren't linked together, COVID and business interruption in particular. So have they treated us fairly by simply saying, well, sorry, we're not covering it? There's an angle. There are similar obligations and rules which insurance companies must abide to, laid down by the FCA. Now, they're very complicated rules, don't get me wrong, they are. But in there again, there's a duty of treating your customer fairly, and number of other duties. And it may be that some of these I don't know, complaints, I suppose, is what they are, to the Financial Services Ombudsman, may well produce some fines, penalties, and even some compensation for those who feel that they have not been treated fairly by the insurance companies as matters stand.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that. Lastly, and it isn't directly linked to construction, but you advised during the seminars we were holding last week, with regards to travel, your advice is not to cancel anything voluntarily, nothing.
Absolutely not. I mean, I think people are falling into this trap. I only put it in because it affects us all personally. And obviously, if you travel for business, whatever. If you had a policy that was taken out probably before January, mid-January of this year, then the chances are, well, I know you will be covered for COVID-19 cancellations and delays. You will be. Mid-Jan is an important date simply because Wuhan was locked down, I think, on the 23rd of January. So most policies are responding to COVID cancellations and delays, but no policy will respond if you voluntarily have done something. So you need to wait for your flight to be cancelled, because you'll automatically get money back from your airline. And where at the moment the government has advised non-essential travel, but it is also advised do not travel to specific countries. Now, someone may have booked a holiday to, I don't know, Peru in August. Yeah? At the moment, there may be no government guidance at all in relation to Peru. If you suddenly go, oh God, I don't fancy going to Peru now with all this, and you cancel it voluntarily, insurance company go, well, I'm sorry, FCO didn't say you couldn't travel to Peru. You did that, not covered. So do not do anything voluntarily. Wait for the government guidance, which will tell you, don't do it, and wait for the airlines to cancel your flights.
Okay, thank you. Sage advice there, Mr. Sharp. Thank you, as I say, for being the first of our 10-minute takeaways. And we've got more online seminars coming up featuring you, so we will see you again very soon. Thank you for your time, John.
And thank you for yours, Julie.
My pleasure.